各位来宾午安，下午第一场次为视讯会议，主题为 Traditional Chinese Authority URI Enrichment to Linked Data，主讲人为 Exlibris 公司的资深管员 URI， 现场则由 Exlibris 台湾业务经理陈文婷小姐进行翻译。陈小姐这边请。Now let's welcome Mr. URI, the senior librarian at Exlibris.
Hello, everybody. Can you just confirm, please, that you hear me okay and I'm ready to begin?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we're going to do this. I'm going to speak a little bit, and then Alicia is going to translate. We're going to leave 15 minutes at the end for questions. We're going to talk for 45 minutes and then leave 15 minutes for the questions. So we're talking about traditional Chinese authority URI enrichment to linked data. We're going to talk about linked data in Alma in general and point out the specific parts which are unique for the traditional Chinese authorities, which were done specifically for Taiwan. Before we begin, Alicia, perhaps you want to translate what I said until now.
Yes, thank you. 各位大家好，那今天为我们做这个说明呢，是由我们公司的资深管员由 L. 先生来做说明。那等一下，我们大概会有45分钟的投影片说明，外加一些展示。那另外会有15分钟的 Q&A 时间。那我们等一下大致上的流程呢，会是先做一些说明，然后说明一些我们在这个繁体中文的这种权威在Alma的一些使用方式，还有特别需要注意的地方。谢谢。Please.
Okay, so before we start talking about the specifics of the linked data, let's talk about why we even want to do linked data. Why is linked data important? And what are we going to talk about linked data in this presentation? So linked data is, on the one hand, a fancy word that's very popular in the library world, what we call a buzzword. But in actuality, it's very useful. It's not just a buzzword. It helps users find results. It enhances the search results. It's part of the results. It's incorporated as part of the online content. It's not something a user, an end user in Primo or a staff user in Alma needs to use a third-party tool. It's a built-in part of Alma. And the parts which we're going to be focusing on specifically are these three authority files in the linked data: the Taiwan name authority file, the list of Chinese subject terms, and the new classification scheme for Chinese libraries. These authority files in January of 2022, 3 months ago, were added to the Alma Community Zone so all users can use them. When we talk about linked data, the typical term which is used is to crawl, like a baby does. It goes from place to place. And that's what we do here in the linked data. Somebody does a search for example, an author or a subject and a title. And from those search results, the user can move on to another record on the same subject or by the same author. Go ahead, Alicia.
所以我们在刚开始的时候是希望先跟大家分享一下为什么我们要做这样子的链接资源，它的重要性。首先，这个链接资源在我们图书馆界来讲，一直都是一个蛮时尚的一个词。那但是它其实本身的定义也一直都有点混淆，有点 buzz 这样子。但其实我们不是只为了这种时尚，其实它是一个很有用的东西。基本上我们做链接资料的一个目的，主要就是要帮助我们使用者找到各种不同的结果，不管它是线上的或是我们图书馆里面的。那我们读者使用的在我们家的那个平台是叫做 Primo。那我不需要透过任何第三方的工具，可以让它在我们的这个使用者平台上面就可以直接使用。那它本身不是第三方，它是一个Alma自己本身的一个部分。那我们今天主要会分享，主要有3种应用的那个资料来源，一个就是我们中文主题词表，那还有刚刚有提到的台湾人民权威档，还有我们中国图书分类法的2007年版本。那这一些呢，我们其实在1月22号的时候都已经加入到我们 Alma 的全球共享区里面，也就是我们常会提到的 CZ。那在这个地方呢，就是代表所有目前使用 Alma 的用户都已经可以开始使用了。 那基本上我们在讲这种链接资料，它一个典型的一个使用方法，就像它刚刚那个 baby 的图一样，它会从这个资料爬到那一端的资料里面，那让我们的这些从里面不管是作者还是其他资料，我们都可以从他查到的搜寻结果之后，再往下查到其他的结果。有没有 please？
Okay, before we talk about how we can get the linked data out of Alma, let's take a look at some real examples here from Alma libraries and what they have done with linked data. Alicia, just translate that sentence, please. That we're going to now look at 2 institutions with real live examples, and then we're going to go into Alma and see how the linked data comes out.
所以呢，我们在开始之前，我们希望先让大家看到我们在 Alma 的实际的2个用户的案例，看他们呈现的效果，然后后续我们才会带 Alma 这个画面来给大家参考。有 please。
Okay, so the first example we're going to do is from the University of Wisconsin. University of Wisconsin. What we're going to do now has been described by the University of Wisconsin here in a Ex Libris blog, and this describes what they did of what I'm going to show. So I'm going to go into that institution, and we're going to look at an example. So the University of Wisconsin Libraries is here. And we're going to do exactly like it states here in the presentation. We're going to do a search for this title. And Alicia, stress to them, please, and I'll stop for a moment, that this is a real live catalog. This is not some development environment that they're using on the side. This is their real Primo that they're using. Go ahead.
那我们先说会有2个案例嘛，那第一个案例呢就是威斯康星大学，那我们其实连接的方式这些都是公开的，所以可以从网络上我们的部落格里面去连到相关的资料，那图片其实也都可以下载。那从我们这边可以看到，就是说这个是实际的使用案例，我们等一下会搜寻一个 title， 那去查查看它呈现的效果是什么。那我们要特别强调，就是说这些是实际在使用的一个用户单位，那它不是任何的示范站而已，是一个真实案例。游泳 please。
Okay, so we're going to do a search here for a title. And like we said a moment ago, the results are embedded into what we see on the screen. So I'm going to go into this record. I'm going to click the title in order to get the full view of the record. And if we scroll down, this institution has added a section called Information from the Web. And this is where they're bringing in the linked data. So for example, they're bringing in a source here of Wikidata and a source here, DBpedia. From DBpedia, they're showing the biography of the author. Then they also have a link to the Wikidata. So the end user here can click on the Wikidata and get all of this information from the author about who wrote the book or the work. Then we have more from DBpedia about which movies the author appears in. And then we have the more traditional library-related links. For example, a link to the Library of Congress name authority file here. And we have a link to VIAF. And we have a link to the Wikidata. And we have the link directly to the DBpedia, which is embedded also on the top. So from there, the user can see in VIAF about the author, and also the Wikidata, and also the DBpedia, and also the Library of Congress. So those are the links that are provided via the linked data for the end user when he searched for this record. Go ahead, Alicia.
所以我们刚刚有看到它直接查一个题名嘛，那搜寻结果的时候，我们会看到它连接到一个就是完整的视图。在这个地方，请往下看的时候，刚刚有一个叫information from the web。那在这个地方，你就会看到它其实有很多条连接资讯已经在这上面的，包含比较明确的，比如说Wikipedia，它直接连进去，你就可以，就是这是读者端看到的画面，所以它其实已经可以看得到，就是这一个作者本身的生平。甚至包含他在这本著作里面，他有衍生其他的什么样子的电影这样子相关著作。那除了这一些网络上的资源之外，它也有其他的连接，可以连接到我们大家图书馆比较熟悉的一些地方，比如说刚刚有 URI，然后还有图书馆。 那以上这些东西都是直接切入到读者所看的，有点像以前我们看的馆藏一样这样的一个理念，所以它都是直接切入到里面。对读者来讲，他可以从这个结果直接衍生到其他网络的相关资源等等。URI please.
Okay, now we're going to look at another example before we go into Alma and look at it. Another example now is coming from the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. And let's take a look there. By the way, tell them, Alicia, I sent out in the chat the link to this presentation so everybody can look at this presentation on their own. This presentation is on the Knowledge Center. Now we're going to take a look at an example from the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. Go ahead, Alicia.
所以我们现在等一下要看的另外一个案例，大家比较熟悉，就是香港科技大学他们的画面。那在这之前，因为我们有其实在网页上已经可以看到这次的投影片档案。另外，我们在我们公司的公开的网页上，也都会放置今天所使用的相关的投影片资料，都可以直接做下载。URI please.
Okay, so now at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, HKUST, we've searched for a different work called Lean In, Women Work, The Will to Lead. We have our results. We'll click the title. And here, while University of Wisconsin called this information from the web, the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology calls it a knowledge card. We're going to click the knowledge card, and now we get to the linked data here. And again, we have links to various sources. For example, we've got a link to the Wikidata here, and it's showing what they're calling a knowledge card. Then there's a link here to the Library of Congress Names Authority file, and to the VIAF, and to the Wikidata, and they've got this for both authors. They've also got a link here to something they call cards. First of all, when I clicked these three, it opens up the proper link here to each of the places about the author in this case. And if we come here and we search for cards, it's doing another search inside the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology for similar authors who have written similar works or authors who have written works with this author. Go ahead, Alicia.
那我们在这个第二个范例里面的港科，让我们查询另外一本书。那我们刚刚在威斯康星大学看到的，他们的用词叫做information from the web。那在香港的话，他们叫做 knowledge card。其实大家用词都不一样，不过你可以看到它连接的资源也都大同小异。那在上来讲，以港科大部就是连到 Wikidata， 那也有做这个国立图书馆的，就是人民权威等等，这些它都有连过去。那另外他们做了另外一件事情，就是他两个作者，那其中一个作者，那也可以看到，就是说，他在我的跟他的资源里面，我认为还有哪些其他相关的一些相似的作者或相似的作品，那都可以连接得到。Please.
Okay, now we're going to go into Alma. All of that was just to show that when we're using linked data, we have an ultimate goal, which is to aid the end user. So let's take a look at some examples here inside Alma. And with Meg's permission, I have copied several records from the National Taiwan University to my environment, and that's what I'd like to look at. Go ahead, Alicia, before I jump in. That I copied these from National Taiwan University with Meg's permission, and now we're going to look at some examples inside Alma.
那我们刚刚看到两个实际案例都是属于读者的画面，那接下来我们要看的就是 Alma， 也就是读者端所看到的一个资源或者是功能会是什么。那接下来的这些资料是由台湾大学图书馆所允许的，所以我们有 copy 几份资料到我们这个测试的小平台。URI please.
Okay, so there are several ways to export the linked data from Alma. One way is via an API. For example, this is the syntax of the APIs for exporting data. So if I want, for example, this record here, we'll start with number 3. If I want to take this record, which, like I said, is from the National Taiwan University, but it's in my environment, and I want to get the linked data for this record, which is using, as we see here, the Taiwan subjects. I need the MMS ID and the institution code. And the syntax for getting it is here. So if I take this and I simply replace the institution code and the MMS ID, I'll be able to bring the linked data. So here, let's do that. We have this MMS ID. We're going to replace this with the MMS ID that I just took. I'm just going to make sure there's no space there. And I'm going to put in my institution code. And now this will be the way that I can get the linked data. Let's take a look. If I paste this now into a browser or an API client, this will bring me the linked data. Perfect. So for example, I have a link here to the authorities in the National Taiwan Authority files. If I click here, it will open up directly to the linked open data Taiwan library. So this is something that can be put into the Primo search results. We saw that the University of Wisconsin and the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology were pointing to Wikidata and to VIAF and to other places. Here, the data is already there to come directly to the linked open data Taiwan library. We also have links, for example, here to WorldCat. It's bringing this record like it is in WorldCat. Let me stay on WorldCat.org just to show. And now we see the record in WorldCat. We also have links here to the subjects, also from the National Taiwan University. And here we have the subject, the topic name, the classification, etc. It can be viewed here in different formats. Let me show another record before we stop and Alicia translates, another record which this time will use both authority files from the Library of Congress and authority files from Taiwan. So we're going to go back to our list here. And let's take, for example, this one here. So we'll take this MMS ID and just exchange that MMS ID for this. And let's go take a look at this one. Okay, so here we have again the links to WorldCat. We also have a link to ISBN search. I don't think we used that last time. Let's go take a look at that. That brings the record from the ISBN. And we've also got links here to the National Taiwan, subjects, etc. And in the same record, we also have links to the Library of Congress and to VIAF. So for example, here we've got this author in the Library of Congress, all in the same record, links to both the National Taiwan Authority files and the Library of Congress. Go ahead, Alicia.
那刚刚那一连串，其实我们要说明的就是你要从 Alma 里面去，就是去绘出 link data 有几个方法，其中第一个就是透过 API。那 API 的使用方法呢，其实它的语法是蛮简单的，就是刚刚看到那一连串的一个 URL， 那你要去找出这个机构的机构代码。另外还有一个，他刚刚一直在讲的 MMS ID， 可以把它理解为 Alma 自己本身的系统号。那你只要把自己的机构代码还有我的系统号放在那一串 URL 进去之后，那你到那个浏览器上面去连接的时候，你就会看到这一笔相关的资料。那刚刚已经看了两笔资料，其实我想主要的一个他想要说明的就是，你可以看到我们的资料的本身，它本身 URI 都已经埋入了。那这些 URI 以台大的这边资料的范围来讲的话，其实我们也可以看到各种不同的连接标的，包含我们那个 LTTL， 还有那个VIAF 啊，然后美国国会图书馆啊，还有 ISBN Search 等等，这些资料其实是非常的多元的。Yoel, please.
Okay. Now, the reason that we were able to link out to those various authorities is because in Alma, the record is linked to these authority files. These are the authority files that we talked about earlier. So, for example, I'm in now the Alma Metadata Editor. I know some of the participants are not yet Alma users. So this is the Alma Metadata Editor. This is how records are edited and cataloged. And we see here this is going to NCSCLT. And at the beginning of this presentation, we had mentioned the various authority files which we have here. So this is going to the new classification scheme for Chinese libraries. That's from the 084. Then we have a 100 field. If I click here, we can see that this is also going to the Chinese name, the Taiwan name authority file here. This is going here, the Taiwan name authority file. And then we have subjects here, which are going to LCSTT, which we mentioned at the beginning, is the list of Chinese subject terms. So because these are linked to authority files, this picture here of the binoculars means it's linked to an authority file. Because of that, we're able to bring in all of that authority data and links to it inside the Alma bibliographic record with the linked data. Go ahead, Alicia.
我们就是提到我们为什么要我们会做这个各种的权威档的一个主要原因还有一个目的就是我们 Alma 目前都是可以连过去的嘛。那你刚刚看到那个就是 Alma 目前的算是编录区、编录工具，可以看到就是有点像早上的那个实物在 Alma 上面呈现就是这样。比如说以084段来说的话，你可以看到分栏2，我们就有说明它其实就是连到我们中文主题词调。然后在100段，你会看到我们其实就是可以连到台湾的原名权威档。然后650段，它的那个代码也就是代表我们用的是中国图书分类法2007年版。所以像这样子，就是在我们的一个编录时所呈现的一个画面。那这个整个的画面上来讲的话，你有时候会看到那个望远镜。那个望远镜的意思就是代表我们可以那上面是有连接到权威档的。有没有 please?
Okay. In addition to the formats which we have seen now, which is called JSON LD, this is the JSON linked data. We can also export these records in BibFrame and in RDA. It's less relevant for the linked data that we're showing now. However, I do want to point out that we can export in BibFrame and RDA, and that can also be done via an API. For example, and I've got some ready here so we don't need to go copy and paste. Here, we can say that we want to link directly, for example, in the BibFrame. And we've got the regular syntax here, BibFrame, instance, and the MMS ID. And now we see this record in BibFrame. And we can also get this record in RDA. Here it is in RDA. The title, the subjects, the related subjects, how it's a relationship, etc. So we're going to focus on the JSON LD. However, I want to point out that we also have in BibFrame and RDA, and we see here also links both to the Chinese subjects and authors and classifications that we've done specifically for Taiwan, like this one. And we also have links in the same records to the Library of Congress subject headings as well. And let's just put this in just so we can see as well. And also to here. So all from the same record, excuse me, sorry about that, all from the, one moment, I got to pull this down. One moment, sorry about that, everybody. The browser got a little messed up. All from the same record, we have both the Taiwanese authorities and the Library of Congress authorities, this time in format RDA. Go ahead, Alicia, with the stress that we can also do BibFrame and RDA.
所以我们虽然刚开始的案例都是用 JSON LD 的那个格式，但其实我们还可以支援的还有 BigQuery 格式跟 RDA 的格式。所以刚刚它其实为了节省大家时间，它的事情是把这些连接做起来。那这些连接其实一样，也都是用 API 的方式去做处理的。那你可以看到，就是说，不管是在 BigQuery 或者 RDA 的格式里面，也一样，就是点进去之后，你都可以看到那些超连接。所以其实我们大部分都会就是以 JSON LD 的案例来做说明，但原则上其实各种的格式都可支援。Please.
Okay. In addition to the APIs, there are other methods within Alma to both see and extract the linked data. And we're going to look at an example now, which is called a general publishing profile. And we're going to publish records to a file, which includes linked data. And we're going to do the entire process from start to finish. Go ahead, Alicia.
那我们除了使用 API 的方式之外，我们也可以透过其他的方式来去阅读或者是抽取这些 link data 的资料。那我们等一下会做的这个功能叫做就是产生发布设定档功能。那我们会从头做到尾给大家看一次。Please.
Okay, so I have now performed a search for 11 records. These are, again, the 11 records which Meg was kind enough to let me put in my environment. And I want to save these as a set and publish them. So I'm going to show the process, and we're going to do the whole process from scratch. We're going to make a publishing profile and publish them to link data. So first I'm going to save this as a set, and I will call it Taiwan Link Data Seminar Friday, March 18. That's the name of my set. It includes all of these records that we just searched for, and save. Now I want to publish this. So one time I need to make a publishing profile, and I want to show the publishing profile, so I'm going to make one from scratch rather than have one already ready. So we'll go to the publishing profiles, and we'll create a new one together. So we'll add a general profile, and we'll call this Yoel and Alicia exporting to link data. We can call it whatever we want, but that's what we'll call it here. Then we could schedule this to run on a regular basis. We're going to run it manually right now, but we could have it always get new records and publish either every day, every Saturday, every Sunday, every hour. Then we're going to choose that set, the set that we just made one moment ago, which is called Taiwan Link Data Seminar Friday, March 18th. Then we're going to publish the bibliographic records. We're going to publish to Mark 21 bibliographic, but we could also publish to many different formats, including the bib frame and RDA that we saw a moment ago, but all of these others as well. But we're choosing Mark 21 bibliographic. We can export this to an FTP server or to Open Archive Initiatives or to Z3950. We'll publish this to an FTP server. We'll use the Ex Libris Secure FTP service, and we'll put it in a subdirectory. We'll call this LD Friday, March 18. That'll be the name of our directory. And we'll publish it in XML format, simply so it'll be easier for us to see. And we'll also give the file name a prefix. And next. Now, the important part here is when we export it, we're going to enrich the data with linked data. So it's not going to be just the record as we see it, just the mark fields. It will also include all of the linked data enrichment that we saw with the APIs and that we saw in the search results for University of Wisconsin and Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. Now let's publish that. So what did we call this, Alicia? I forgot what we called this even. One moment. We'll get the general publishing profiles. And we'll get the ones that we did on March 18th. And one moment, it's probably here. And there it is. Okay, so this is the one we just made, March 18th today. We're going to run it. Run. So what it's going to do, let's take a look at it. It's going to send out the files in this set, and when it sends it out, it's going to include the linked data enrichment. Go ahead, Alicia, and then we'll go look at the file.
那我这段有点长，我尽量把它回顾一下。这个其实就是我们整个要执行的一个动作。首先，我们可以先在我们 Alma 的一个画面上，你会看到它其实刚开始有执行一个搜寻的动作。这个搜寻的目的就是我设定我自己哪些资料其实是我未来要做处理的，所以它会说有一个叫 set。那它查之后，它有11个资料，在这个它查完之后，它其实就直接把这样的查询的条件。语法就不存下来了，存下来之后，我们就产生了这样子一个资料集。这个资料集就是我们等一下要执行做 link data 的输出的这些资料，所以这是他做的第一个动作。然后接下来的下一个动作就是我们所谓的发布的设定。我们到底要发布什么样的东西出去？就是它刚刚会有一连串步骤要去做设定。所以设定你会看到它的一些做法。首先，当然你要先把这个设定档，这个有点像是个小程式的概念，我要先命名。命名之后呢，我要设定我大概多久要去做我的排程，我大概多久要去做这样子一次的发布，然后选择我要对哪一些资料进行发布的动作，这是我们刚做的那个查询的动作。然后呢，都设定完之后，我们当然就是选择我们未来发布的这些档案，我们希望它以什么样子的格式也好，然后它是要怎么样的一个层次，比如说我只发布到输入 label 层次的资料等等。那接下来就是我发布的方式是什么？比如说，我们可以通过 Z39.50，或者是像这个案例来讲，我们使用的是 FTP 的方式。那如果比如说，我们要选择 FTP 的方式来去做发布的话，那我可能也要告诉他，那我 FTP 要发布到哪一个目录夹里面？发布的这些目录夹，我的那个资料是不是要做些什么设定档？前置就是档案的前置码等等。那这些都是因为你相关设定而产生，你相关的选项而产生的相关设定。那再来就是说，我这些设定我要包含我的这个链接资料的这种丰富化的一些资讯在里面，要不要丰富这些资料？如果要的话，要记得勾选。那最后呢，后来把这些设定完之后就储存嘛。储存之后，接下来我们要不要？我们储存完这个东西设定好之后，接下来我们可能就要去找这个我当初设定的这个小工具在Alma哪里，我要不要执行它？如果确定要执行的话，就去找到它。它刚刚在找的就是我们刚刚做的动作的那个设定档在哪里？找到之后记得按下执行。Yoel, please.
Okay, so now let's go look at the file that we published. So it's going to be on the Ex Libris Secure FTP server in this directory, and it will have this file name prefix. So let's go there. And Alicia, tell them, please, while we're doing this, that I could have had everything ready and just said we can publish it and show them the file. However, I want on purpose them to see how the whole process works. Go ahead while I get the file.
OK。那其实顺便再说明一下，我们大可以就是事先把资料准备好，然后让大家看一下结果就好。但是其实我们希望透过这一次的时间让大家知道这整个流程，我们都是及时去做，然后这些资料是及时产生的，跟及时它到底会是怎么样？希望能够让大家是特地让大家看到实际的操作的方式。Yoel, please.
Okay, so let's go see that directory. And here it is, LD Friday morning, March 18th. And for me, it's morning. For you, it's not morning, I know. So that was created right now. This is my local time, 7:50. It was created right now. I'm going into that directory. Here's the file. It's called LD Friday, March 18th. That's because inside the publishing profile, that's the prefix we gave it. Now I'm going to export this to my PC just so we can look at it. I happen to have a directory here named Yoel and Alicia. So I'll take this file and we'll export it here just so we can see it. We could leave it on the FTP server and let someone else take it. Typically, this is used when an institution wants to publish their records in linked data format to an external source. Tell them that Alicia, and then I'll open the file.
OK，那你可以看到它其实只是在 FTP 站产生了一个我们刚刚设定的一个档的那个资料夹。那你可以看到它是及时完成，就是在它的本地时间早上7:50完成之后，那你会看到有一个就是我们设定的前置码的那些一连串的档案名称。那这个资料层就在 FTP 上面了。那我们他刚刚特别在自己的个人电脑上面再去做一个资料夹，因为我们想把它拉到自己的资料夹来展示给大家。那原则上，你放在 FTP 站之后，当然你也可以允许其他人来这边进行做捞取。
Okay, so let's open up this file. We'll extract it, and then let's see what it looks like. And let's remember also that when we published it, we decided to publish it to XML format. We could have published it also to Mark binary. So this file will already be in XML. Let's open that with Notepad++, and here we are. So now we have the XML of the published file. Again, we have links automatically added. These links are not in the actual record. They're brought out during the publishing. If I go look at this record here in Alma, we won't see those subfield zeros. Let's go MMSID and look for this record in Alma and open it here. So inside the 084, for example, we don't have a subfield 0. In the 100, we also don't have a subfield 0. But when we look at the record here, we have a 084 with a subfield 0, and we have the 100 with a subfield 0, and these are linking directly to the Taiwan Authority files. If we stick this in a browser, we'll see that it's going to bring that author in the linked Open Data Taiwan library. And that's the case for all of these records. It's automatically, because we clicked that box, linked data enrichment, it's taking the subjects that are linked to the Taiwan Authority files and automatically adding this subfield 0 so that it can be used for linked data and point the user directly to the additional information. Go ahead, Alicia.
所以我们刚刚在自己的个人电脑上面打开这个档案的时候，你会看到，其实我们是一个XML档案，因为我们那时候在发布的时候，其实就是选择我们要看的就是 XML 档案。那你打开之后呢，其实我们刚刚有再回去对照在 Alma 的原始的这个 Mark 的档案，当然你也可以输出 Mark 档案。不过在原本的这个 Mark 档案上面，我们并没有看到相关的这些 link data 这些 URI 的资讯。可是你可以看到，比如说我们0804栏，我们其实就已经有说我们在分栏2，我们已经告诉他我们要用哪一个主题词表。所以在整个这个汇出的这个过程，在整个发布的过程当中，其实 Alma 会自动根据你现有的资料去增加一些 link data 的相关资源在里面。所以整个的过程都是在这个我们进行这个发布的时候，它就会自动产生。那产生这样的资料之后，你们就可以后续看有没有需要再进行其他的应用。有please.
Okay, now we're going to show on one more topic, and then we're going to stop for questions. And the topic we're going to show now is how do we see the linked data inside Alma? Viewing the linked data inside Alma. And there's 3 places we can view it. From the repository search results page, there we can view the bib frame, from the record view, and from the metadata editor. So now we're moving to a new topic of viewing the linked data from inside Alma. Go ahead, Alicia. Tell them that now we're going to say inside Alma only and see how we can see the linked data here.
那我们接下来是要看，就是说在 Alma 本身的这个界面里面，我们要如何来阅读这个链接资料。基本上有3个地方，一个就是我们做那个这个就我们这个资料库的检索，另外就是说我们可以在就是检视的资料的时候，还有另外一个就是在我们的页幕的编辑区。Your please.
Okay, so one way that we can see the linked data is from the search results here. From the actions, we have a link to the linked data. So if I take this record here, for example, and I go to the more actions here, I have a link to the linked data, and that opens up a new pane here on the bottom with the links that are in this record for linked data. For example, the creator, which is the author, This one has 2 creators and the subjects and the ISBN search. So all of these we can view from inside Alma. We've got the list of all of the linked data links with the values, the context, the actual link, and then we can see them here. Let's do one more example of this method. Let's take this one here. Again, we have a link here to linked data from within the repository search. And we can click here to access all of these. Let's get it in WorldCat. Let's get it the ISBN, and we'll take also a Taiwan authority. So here we've got the Taiwan authority, the subject here, and here we've got in WorldCat, a link directly to the record in WorldCat. Go ahead, Alicia.
那这是我们刚刚所谓3个地方的其中一个，这个就是最直接的一个想法，就是在 Alma 的整个界面里面，我直接去进行一个搜寻，搜寻之后检索结果里面我们会看到不同的书目资料嘛。那你针对你想要看的书目资料，我们看到任何3个点，就是直接点下去就好。点下去之后，你会看到它其中一个动作就叫 link data， 所以其实针对这个链接资料，你就可以直接去点选它。点选它之后，你会看到它下面其实就有所有相关的这种所谓的链接资料都在里面。那这些链接资料的来源可能会是 ISBN 或是我们 LTC， 然后还有OCLC 的这些通通都有在里面。那你可以解释，除了可以解释这些资料的来源之外，你也可以解释这些资料里面的它的本身的那个内容是什么。URI please.
Okay, another way that we can see we're going to go to the bib frame now. If we view a record in what's called the full view, we get to the full view by clicking on the title. And within there, there's another tab here for bib frame. And if we click there, we see this record in bib frame. Again, with all of the relevant links. For example, we've got a link here to the Library of Congress. This is using the standard bib frame format, and it's viewable right here inside Alma. Go ahead, Alicia.
那这是另外一种我们从检索结果里面去查询去阅读我们的一个检索结果的方式。那刚刚你可以看到查询，我们这次就不点3个点，我们直接点选那个提名的位置。点选提名的位置之后，你就可以看到它完整的资料。完整的资料左边的那个栏位之外，右边就有一个所谓的 bib frame 的一个页签，那就可以直接以 bib frame 的方式去阅读这一笔资料。Please.
I'm just going to take one link from here just to show that they really are valid links. Taking a link here from the bib frame, going to the Taiwan authorities, and it'll bring up the creator for that record. Preferred name, variants, sources, etc. Okay, another way that we can view the linked data is inside the Metadata Editor. So for example, if I open this record in the Metadata Editor, that's where we are now. Again, I can view all of the linked data right here. Under View Related, we have a link to the View Linked Data, and that opens up another pane here with the linked data. I'm going to close the navigation pane just so we have more room on the screen. So now I've got the record here and the linked data here. And again, let's just click a few of them to see them open. So now I've got a link here to the topic name. I've also got a link here to the record in OCLC, a WorldCat. Let's go here this time. And there we go. And we've got to the ISBN, to the authority names, to the authority subjects. Go ahead, Alicia.
那这就是我们第3种形式链接资料的一个方式，这就是我们的那个编目区嘛。那编目区上面有一个功能叫做View Related， 就解释相关资源。解释相关资源点下去之后，你就可以看到所有跟链接资源相关的资料，包含它的 URL 还有它的内容值等等。那一样这些都是可连接的。URL please.
Okay, so I covered everything that we wanted to cover here. We started at 7:15. It's now 8:05, so we have exactly 15 minutes as planned for questions. If anybody has questions or comments, we can take some questions now.
那其实我们就按照时间表，就是做了45分钟的所有的影片以及一些网站的一些功能的说明。那想问一下大家有没有任何的问题想提出来？我们大概有15分钟的时间。那提问的时候想要用中文或英文都可以。那如果需要协助翻译，直接跟我们说就可以了。
我用中文，就麻烦你。就是我刚刚也看到那个有在展示那个从那个publishing profile 绘出来那个 mark XML 当中，其实这应该是算老问题，但是我想借这个机会问一下原厂的人士，就是说我们在发展美图会看到在 XML 档当然你会看到那个 prefix 叫做 URI， 但其实这在 mark 系统是不应该存在、不需要存在的东西。请问原厂
Joel?
Yes.
Hey, hi, you don't see me. Anyway, we have a question. So when you set up the publishing profile, and you can publish it to XML file, but there is a thing that when you publish it to XML file, you will see that if there is a subfield 0, they will automatically add a prefix with URI information on it. So we want to know that if this will be the same in the future, or are we going to fix it in the future? Thank you.
Can you explain more in depth? I'm looking at the file now. Which specific parts are you talking about?
Publish profile, when you publish it to XML file, and the published XML file will contain the URI in the
This part here. Oh, let me share my screen. Sorry, I thought I was sharing the screen. I have the file in front of me. Hold on, I'll share the screen again. Okay, you're referring to this part here in the file?
Yes. No, you're right.
Okay, and what is the question?
Why do we have this, and will this be removed in future releases?
I am not aware of plans to remove this. I did not know there was even a desire to remove this. I can check if there's a way to remove this. I'm not aware of it right now. We may be able to use a normalization rule actually to get rid of it. But okay, I've wrote down to check that, and I'll check. I'm not aware of anything to get rid of it, but I'll check.
Thank you. I think they want to know that if this will be removed in the future, like automatically removed, because it may not be necessary.
I am not aware of any plans to remove this automatically in the future. I will check, however, if there's a method, perhaps a setup inside the publishing profile, which will remove it, but I'm not aware of anything like that. I wasn't even aware that anyone wanted it removed. Has this been brought up before?
So it was brought up by the link data working group from Series, like from our users. So however, the question is raised from by NTU Library, National Taiwan University. So if you need to do any
Okay. I was not aware of the desire to remove the parentheses URI. I'll check it and I will get back to you.
Thank you. 请问大家有其他的问题吗？刚刚那个问题，我们可能还要在后请其他的产品的专员再协助确认一下，再回复给大家。
Did you ask a question, Alicia?
No, I'm not asking a question. It's just that we don't have any further questions here, so probably we can.
Okay.
Here.
So we're all done.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're done.
Okay. So thanks a lot, everybody. Have a nice day. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
谢谢陈经理帮我们的一个翻译，谢谢陈经理。